Hey y'all, how you doing? With the completion of the first week of the XFL, it feels good to finally have football continuing after the Super Bowl. I myself was super excited before each game this last weekend because of the potential this league has. 3 of the 4 games were very competitive and fun to watch, with new rules like the kickoff rule, where players can't engage and block until the runner gets the ball, or even being able to go into the play review booth where they look at the play and figure out whether the call stands or not, whether that's determining a touchdown, a first down, or a flag on the play. On the football aspect, we got to see players excited to hit one another and play after so much preparation for this league. For today's video, we're going to be discussing what happened in those games over the weekend in Week 1, as well as giving predictions for Week 2 at the end of today's video. So, let's talk about it. The first game of the season was a wild one for fans, being a very competitive contest until the last whistle between 2 good teams. Starting off with the Vipers playing amazing in the first half. Quarterback Luis Perez had 2 big touchdowns in the first half, with both of them to wide receiver Jeff Badet to top off his day with 6 catches for 81 yards. On defense, the Vipers D was able to get a turnover from Drew Plitt late in the second quarter from CJ Avery. Things though seemed to instantly change in the second half, with the Vipers offense making so many bad choices that ended up hurting themselves and helped the home team Renegades to come back when they had no right to be able to get that comeback. The offense was not able to get anything going despite the comeback, with them only scoring 2 field goals from Taylor Russolino during the game. Majority of the comeback was from the Renegades defense, making some big plays involving 2 pick sixes that Luis Perez threw. One was to Tomsai Lowley for 22 yards early in the third quarter, and the other one was to cornerback Devontae Bosby in the fourth quarter when the Vipers were backed up against their own end zone. The game ended with a great sequence in the last drive for the Vipers, with them scoring in the last seconds of the game but failing on the 2-point attempt, leading to one of the new rules where late in the game, if you have to go for an onside kick to get the ball, you can either go for the onside or you can attempt a 4th and 15 to keep the ball. The Vipers chose the 4th and 15 attempt, which seems like could happen a good amount this season just from the higher chances you have of getting the ball. But they attempted the 4th and 15 and failed with an incompletion, finishing the comeback for the Renegades. The Vipers definitely look like a team that'll be better as the league continues, while the Renegades in the win looked rough on both sides throughout the game at points, so they'll need to fix that up before Week 2. While the game after that with the Orlando Guardians and the Houston Roughnecks wasn't a good game itself, with the final score being 12-33, Houston winning, the game was still very entertaining, with both defenses making highlight plays, having 5 total picks in the game. The Guardians looked decent at the start, getting an early lead in the first. After that, the Roughnecks responded quickly and just continued their dominance throughout. Houston then scored 2 straight touchdowns in the second quarter, including a one-handed grab from wide receiver Deontay Burnett for 46 yards, along with a 27-yard rushing touchdown from running back Max Borghi towards halftime. In the second half, the Roughnecks quarterback Brandon Silvers had a day in the game, but did throw 2 picks at the start of the second half, giving the Guardians an opportunity to come back being down with some scores. But Orlando does nothing with it other than Paxton Lynch throwing a pick the next play to Tavante Beckett, which would have been a pick 6 if it wasn't for the penalty on that same play. The game was over after the first quarter, it seemed like, with the Roughnecks defense getting to Paxton Lynch and later on in the game to backup quarterback Quinton Dormandy. The Guardians have a lot to work on at the quarterback position, while the Roughnecks look like the same dominating team from that 2020 season and looking to continue that onward. The games on Sunday started with a slugfest between 2 physical defenses, with the Battlehawks traveling over to play the Hines Ward-coached San Antonio Brahmas. Both offenses struggled majorly in the beginning, while both defenses were making big plays throughout the game, with the Battlehawks defensive end Travis Feeney getting a sack fumble, recovering it for the Battlehawks, hopefully giving them hope. Both offenses also had some highlights even with the struggles. Both starting running backs had good games, with San Antonio's Kalen Ballage having 84 rushing yards on the ground off of 24 carries, and the Battlehawks running back Brian Hill having 81 total yards with 9 touches. After what seemed to be a one-sided affair, it all looked to be over for the Hawks after kicker John Romo extended the Brahmas' lead to 15-3 with 3 minutes left off of a 48-yard field goal. But A.J. McCarron and the offense flipped like a switch and changed the game at the end, with A.J. going 6 for 6 and 73 yards, including an 18-yard strike to Hakeem Butler for the score. A.J. McCarron went on to convert a 3-point conversion after that touchdown, making it a 3-point game. Then converted a 4th and 15 attempt to get the ball back. And then... No, and then! 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 He followed all of that by scoring the game-winning touchdown to wide receiver Austin Proehl for 13 yards on a crucial third down play. The game itself was uneventful, with both defenses having a field day. It was an unexpectedly exciting ending, which really showed the fight in the Battlehawks, led by former college national champion A.J. McCarron. For the last game of the opening weekend, it was a crazy way to finish it off. Seattle versus DC was a very eventful game with another wild finish between probably the two top teams in the XFL, with both having two completely different styles of offense. For Seattle, the offense was well balanced, having success on the ground as well as in the air, starting the game off with a miraculous heads-up play from Ben DiNucci to Josh Flash Gordon for a 6-yard touchdown, to where Ben DiNucci just flipped it at the last second to Josh. Later in the third quarter, running back Brendan Knox had a dominating 13-yard run for a touchdown, topping his day, finishing with 31 yards rushing on the ground. With the 3-point conversion right after that touchdown, it would extend their lead to 18-8, looking like a good spot for the Seattle Sea Dragons at the time. For the defenders, on the other hand, they decided to go with a more pound-the-rock, old-school type offense, being very effective on the ground, with DC using both of their running backs and having success. Abram Smith had 30 rushing yards, as well as Raquel Armstead having 28 rushing yards. And then you got both the quarterbacks Jordan Ta'amu and Derek King having a rushing touchdown as well. The defense in the second half seemed to make good adjustments for DC by making Ben DiNucci confused and throw 2 big interceptions to Michael Joseph in the second half, both being crucial interceptions because they both ended up scoring for DC. The first being a 15-yard pick 6 in the third quarter soon after that Brendan Knox touchdown. The other was the first play of the fourth quarter, putting the defenders' offense in the Seattle Sea Dragons red zone, and ended up with a 5-yard rushing touchdown by Derek King, taking the lead 22-18. With the last drive of the game, Ben DiNucci and the Seattle Sea Dragons offense got down to the 1-yard line with 2 big plays. One was a 22 passing yard play at the start of the drive, and then an 18-yard dagger to Josh Gordon on a 4th down play. On the 1-yard line, they tried some sort of option running type play, and Ben DiNucci ended up taking it and running up the middle, getting stuffed in the process, and getting stripped for a lost fumble, ending the game for the Seattle Sea Dragons. Alright, and now that we finished the week 1 recap, we're going to be moving on to the part of the video where I'm going to be doing a little quick predictions for each of the games for this upcoming week, for week 2 of the XFL. So starting off with the St. Louis Battlehawks traveling over to the Seattle Sea Dragons. I'm going to say the Seattle Sea Dragons are going to win this one because they look more consistent on both sides of the ball, when the St. Louis Battlehawks struggled a lot more in week 1. Moving on to the DC Defenders and the Vegas Vipers. I'm going to say the Vipers because the first week they look to have more of a complete offense, while the Defenders' offense seems more one-dimensional. Then moving on to the San Antonio Brahmas versus the Orlando Guardians. My prediction is going to be the Brahmas because they looked more dominant on defense for the majority of the game in week 1 against the Battlehawks until the last 3 minutes. And the Guardians looked terrible in week 1, honestly, so I don't see them beating the Brahmas at all in this one. And then speaking of the Roughnecks, we're going to be talking about the last game, the Arlington Renegades traveling over to Houston to play the Roughnecks. My prediction for that one is going to be the Roughnecks, because even though the Renegades put up a good fight against the Vipers in week 1, Wade Phillips and that defense got 3 turnovers last week, and I feel like they're going to continue that with the struggling Arlington Renegades offense. Alright, that concludes the week 1 recap, as well as predicting the week 2 of the XFL season. I hope y'all enjoyed the video today. If you liked the video, make sure to click the like button and subscribe, as well as let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you again, and have a good one.